Rabotai, Erev Tov. I want to tell you something really interesting. It says in Shulchan Aruch, laws of tzedakah. It says over there that whatever a person gives for tzedakah, he'll never lack anything from this mitzvah. In other words, he'll never have lack of money, because he gave tzedakah. He'll never be lacking nothing. No such a thing like this in life. Always, when you give tzedakah, Hashem gives you more. You're not lacking nothing. So don't be afraid and say, this is what he's trying to tell you. Don't be afraid and say, if I give now, maybe tomorrow I won't have enough. Next week, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Should I give? Should I keep it for myself? I'm not really sure what to do. So comes and tells you, Shulchan Aruch, don't worry, give now, and you'll never be lacking nothing. Don't worry about that. It's a promise. So, it's a nice Shulchan Aruch, nice halakha. Okay, beautiful. But the truth is, there's a few stories that I want to tell you about this. From the Midrash, from the Talmud, to teach you some interesting things about this. And then you understand a little bit better, what's going on with this. Also, I have one story in my life, from a friend of mine I can tell you. Very interesting story. And you'll understand the Shulchan Aruch much better when I tell you these stories. Story like this, right? First of all, it says in the Talmud, Hamalveh lechavero b'shat dochako lo yichaser leolam. You know what that means? That a person who lends money, right, to his fellow, lends money, loan, right? Lending money. B'shat dochako, when he's in trouble, he's in bad shape. He'll never be lacking in his life nothing, if he does that. So now the question is like this, right? When he says he's in bad shape, who's he talking about? The lender or the borrower? Who's in bad shape? You understand the question? Who's in bad shape? So you would think, right? It's the borrower. He's in bad shape. He needs money. Please. I don't have nothing right now. Give me something. No, it's not him. The lender is in bad shape. You understand? In other words, he doesn't really have money himself. He's also lacking. But he says, he has a big heart. Lev gadol he has. So he says, you know what? I also don't have enough, but I'm going to give you anyway. Give you a loan. Because I want to help you. I'm a Jew. What can I do? Right? I have a Jewish heart. I want to help you. So he gives it to him, even though he himself doesn't have enough for this week. He doesn't have enough to finish the week or the month, whatever it is. Right? Gives it to him anyway. So promises you, right, that you'll never be lacking nothing in your life. You know why? Because you did such a big mitzvah like this. Why is big mitzvah? Because you yourself also don't have, and you trust Hashem, and you say, you know what? If I give him, I know Hashem will give me. I'll be okay. If you have this kind of emunah in your heart, and so you're a strong person. You're going beyond halakha. The truth is, according to halakha, according to the ikar halakha, he's not really obligated to do this. Why? Because he himself doesn't have. You know what I mean? So how can you give somebody a loan? You yourself lacking money, but you know what? You have a big heart. Lev gadol. For chesed. Oh, so you give him. Hashem will take care of you all your life. That's what it says. One nice story from the Talmud. Another story, right, which is a longer story a little bit, comes from Midrash Rabbi. It says over there something really interesting, right? What happened? There was this guy, Jewish guy, and the rabbis, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer, they went to this guy, they were going around looking for tzedakah. Why? Because they were supporting a kollel, Talmidim, the Mavrechim, they have to pay them salary, to sit and learn Torah. So they were raising money, for the kollel. So they went, they're going here, going there, right? One place, one door to the other, right? Next door, tuk, 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 right? Hello, shalom, right? Tzedakah. So what happened, right? This guy, he knew these rabbis. He saw them, coming. He saw them coming, this guy over here. So he gets very upset when he sees them, It's like his whole face falls down, Wow. Gets depressed. Why? What happened? Why? Because he lost all his money, just a little bit before. So he had nothing, he lost everything, he lost his shirt in business. You know what I mean? So he's got nothing, and he's like upset. He's like saying, I can't give nothing to these rabbis. I'm so embarrassed. This is embarrassing, it's a disgrace. So what happened, right? He was all upset, his face like this, kavushim, panim kavushim. So what happened? He went, inside his house, and his wife saw him, So what happened? They say his wife was bigger tzaddik than him, She was big tzaddiket, better than him. Sometimes this is the way it is, Sometimes the wife was bigger tzaddiket, and then his husband. It happens, right? This could be, you never know, right? So what happened? So she asked him, she says, "Why are you so upset? I see your face. Man, you look. What happened? What happened? There was another war, right? In Gaza. What happened? What are you so upset about?" So he said, no, he says, I see the rabbis coming, He says, I don't have nothing to give them. We lost all our money. I don't know what to do. I feel so embarrassed. So you know what the wife tells him? Tzadeket, tells him like this. Says, all we have left, he says, is one field, one piece of real estate, right? One piece of land. He says, you know what? He says, let's sell half of it, and let's sell the land, right? We'll give them 50%, and we'll keep 50% for ourselves. This is what she told him, So he did it, He went, he sold the land, and he gave 50% to the rabbis, and he kept 50% for himself, the land, He sold half the land. So what happened, right? So the rabbis blessed him, when he gave, they realized the rabbis, what he did. I think they understood, right? So what happened was that they told him, he says, Hashem should replace your loss, he says, they told him like this, and they blessed him, gave him bracha. We know you're losing like this, Hashem should replace your loss for you. This is what they told him, So what happened, right? So now he only has half the field left, So, in the old days, everybody was a farmer, They used to farm. That's how they made parnasah, right? So there was no Wall Street, no 47th Street, right? Everybody was a farmer, So what did he do? He went back to his land, right? And he goes there to plow the land, to work the land. And in those days, they didn't have machines, right? They had cows, So the cows, plowing the land, right? He's going with the cow like this, right? So what happens is like this, that all of a sudden the ground opens up, like Korach, Maaseh Korach, opens up the ground and swallows the cow, and the cow falls inside there, By the way, there are videos about this, if you can see. That sometimes the earth just opens, and swallows everything up. It happens sometimes. I heard this happen in Florida a couple of times. Just the whole house was swallowed in. Like this, it's incredible. So this is what happened with the cow. It fell in there, the cow. So what happened, right? It broke its leg, the cow. So now he doesn't have a cow anymore to plow anymore. He's losing everything, This poor guy, right? Losing everything. So what does he do? He goes down there, right, to bring the cow back up, push it back up. So he's coming, pulling, So what does he see over there? He sees something over there buried, something over there in the ground. So he opens it up, He sees over there treasure, treasure with golds, okay, right, gems, all kinds of stuff, 47th Street in that chest, right? Everything there, from everything, right? He found everything. So what does he do? He brings it up, and he says, you see, Hashem rewarded me. He says, because I lost my cow, broke his leg, and I'm rich. So he got the money, So what did he do? He bought this, he went shopping, bought all kinds of stuff, got rich, became a millionaire, right? And all of a sudden, so the rabbis came back, and they asked him. They said, "No, how are you doing? Everything's beseder. What happened? Everything improved. Your life is better now, right?" So he says, "Yeah." He told him, "I became rich." He says, "Thanks to you." He says, "You blessed me." He says, "Your bracha came true. Everything you said, right? You blessed me, and I got rich." So the rabbi said, you see, this is what the pasuk says, right? Mishle. It says, right, that whoever gives, tzedakah, Hashem yarchiv lo. What does that mean? He's going to give him more, right? It's always like that, Always, when you give tzedakah, you increase. Never go down. You always go up. This is what it is, That's another story, interesting story, right? Brought down. So you see from here also one thing I want to tell you, right? Which is like this, right? Was he really obligated to do this, to sell half his land and give it to the rabbis? He wasn't, right? This is his business, This is his property. He's not obligated to do that. Again, right? He went above, above the halakha a little bit, Because he went a little bit above, so Hashem gave him extra, wealth, That's the thing, Sometimes you got to go a little bit higher. It's not enough just to be 50-50, just above the water. You got to jump, and make it, and cut it. I'm sorry, what are you saying?
No, if you don't, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One is, I heard a lot of stories about Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah.
Meantime, he was the richest person in the world. He was son-in-law of Kabbalah.
Right.
And that guy could feed all Israel for 21 years.
Right.
So why he will go looking for money?
She what happened was that when he married Rachel, his daughter, he disowned them. He didn't give them nothing.
No, but then he come back and he saw...
That was 25 years later. 25 years. Can you imagine? 25 years, he had nothing. But anyway, the point is, he became rich in the end. It's true. You know why? Because he learned Torah 24 years. He became rich. Torah makes you rich. That's the way it is. That's what the Torah tells us. Anyway, so now I'll tell you a story that I heard from my friend. A personal story. One more question. Go ahead.
To give tzedakah, there is certain halakha.
Yeah.
You start from closest verse and you go from closest one and then you go for the
He's right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, true. Of course.
So
Yeah, yeah.
how does this halakha work with these people who come to collect money?
So I'll tell you briefly, that's a very, very important question what you're asking. I want to tell you briefly just what the halakha is, It's true, when it comes to tzedakah, you're right. You're supposed to give to the closest relative, first your relatives, you know what I mean? Your brother, your uncle, or something like this, right? Your children, like this. You're right, it's true, Emet. The thing is, the most important thing, the Chazal say, the poskim, they say to give to Torah, Talmud Torah. You know what I mean? They say, give, most of your money to yeshivot, kolel, people, Talmidei Chachamim who are learning Torah. And also a little bit, give to other things. You know what I mean? Little here, little there. What you're talking about is when they need, when they need you, right? So you have to give them, it's not right. You cannot do that. You cannot hide from them, like your relatives, this your family. But if they don't really need you so much, you know what I mean? So then most of the money should go to Talmud Torah, Talmidei Chachamim.
Give tzedakah from the profits, not from
Of course, yeah, you're right. Of course, yeah, that's the thing, So this guy went above, again, right? He went to the Chumrah, This was a Chumrah. This was not halakha what he did. This was way, way above Chassidut, way above.
If there is two things happening, you have to take somebody buy out from the prison.
Yeah. Pidyon Shvuim. Right.
Or you have to give to tzedakah to Torah.
Right.
What do you do?
So the truth is, Pidyon Shvuim comes before tzedakah. It's more, to release somebody. Right. That's true. Yeah. As far as I remember, Pidyon Shvuim comes before. Somebody, like Gaza. What happened over there. The same thing, right? Okay, whatever. But anyway, I want to get back to this. One more story I want to tell you. This one is from my own life. I saw this. My friend. What happened when I was in Eretz Israel? Right, I was learning over there in the Kolel Maran. So I had a friend over there. He was a rabbi also. He's now Dayan, he's the Rosh Kolel, he's big shot, big Dayan, whatever. Persian guy, Persian. So what happened was he told me a story, when he was getting started, when he got married, he said, what happened to me, I'll tell you. He said, I was in my Kolel, Yechavadat, where I was learning there, he said they were paying me $450 every month. This was my salary. Can you imagine? $450, that's nothing, right? For birds. You can live as a bird like that. You know what I mean? What kind of salary is that? So he says, that's all I had. He said, nothing else. Nothing. So, he was thinking, I can't even pay my rent. He says, my rent was $450. So that's it. That's all I got. No money for food, no money for nothing. So he says, what I did was, I went to Rabbi, to ask him a question. Who was this Rabbi? He was from Queens, His name is Rabbi Scheinberg. He used to be a posek over here, in Chafetz Chaim Yeshiva. He used to be a posek, and then he went to Eretz Israel and he's made his own yeshiva over there. Rabbi Scheinberg. Big Talmid Chacham, He wrote books, everything, whatever. So anyway, right, Rabbi Scheinberg, he went to ask him, he said, what should I do? He says, my salary only covers my rent. That's it, everything, but I have nothing else. So he says, what should I do? So the rabbi told him, he said, you know what? He says, I want you to give tzedakah, maser. Take maser from your money. $450, He doesn't have enough to live. And he's telling him to do tzedakah. So, he was like, what tzedakah? I'm poor, I'm ani. What tzedakah? He said, do it. So he says, what did I do? He said, I listened to him, I listened to the rabbi. Even though I didn't have enough money. So he says, what did I do? Listen to this now, right? He says, I went and looked for Talmid Chacham, who's learning in Kolel, and he's ani, poor guy, and I'm going to support him, give him my maser. 10%, whatever it is, right? So he says, I found a guy. He says, that he's, and I says, I checked him if he's really poor, maybe he's faking it, maybe he's a fake, right? Maybe he's really rich, So he says, I went to his house to see what he's got, what kind of furniture he has, Does he have antiquar, furniture, antiques, or does he have, garbage, whatever, So he says, I saw everything was poor, nothing, everything was down, the whole house is like down and out. So he says, then I realized, that he says, I checked it first. Look what he tells me. He says, he says, I'm Persian, He says, I'm very cheap, Persian, he tells me Persians are cheap, He says, so I checked everything, to make sure, 100%, that, he's not cheating me. Listen to this, right? So he says, after he says, I gave him the money, he says, I've been giving it to him, he says, for 20 years. And now he became wealthy, Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Dayan, this, right? He's got money now. He says, I started like that, he says. So again, right, you see the same thing. What do we see from here? Again, a person making $450 a month, and the rabbi's telling him to give Meiser. What Meiser? I don't have money to live. You crazy? But this is the way you do it. You see, that's the thing. They say that if a person is lacking parnasah, he's not so good in parnasah. A little bit down. That means he has to give more. This is how you pull yourself out of it. This is what we see from these stories. You understand? The way to pull yourself out is to do something extra. Not like just halakha. Halakha psuka. No, you got to go above. The halakha a little bit. And this way, if your mazal is not so good, it'll get much higher like this. And you'll get much more dividends. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen. רבי חנן, אתה שומר? רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות ישראל, לפיך הכי בא להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.